It's a new controversy tonight for the Republican presidential candidate. Revelations about a drunk driving arrest rocked the George Bush campaign tonight.
It would only really be in the days immediately building up to the presidential election that the full public disclosure of his being drunk and driving would well up.
Obviously, there's a report out tonight that 24 years ago, I was apprehended in Kennebunkport, Maine for a DUI. That's an accurate story. I'm not proud of that. I oftentimes said that years ago I made some mistakes. I occasionally drank too much, and I did on that night.
Who in their right mind would like to have that out there? The Bushes have the wherewithal and the resources to tamp all that down to the point where it would just be the tiniest little blip on the radar. So why were they doing the opposite? It seems counterintuitive in terms of political pragmatism. And in fact, it was the most politically pragmatic thing of all, because I think they realized this would serve us very nicely in this age when a lot of Christian voters would see him as a prodigal son.
I'm the first to say that what I did was wrong, and I've corrected that. And I think the people of America will understand that.
This is Ivan Adams.
Hey, Ivan.
How you doing?
Good to see you. I got a heck of a forehand.
Hi, I'm Kim. George Bush has lived what is, for all his advantages and all his privilege, the classic American story, which is he started up, he fell down, he got into trouble, he nearly lost everything he had, and he had to reconstruct his own personality. He had to make a confession of weakness and failure, and then he had the experience of turning to religion to find strength. And that is the ultimate American story. This is the country of the second chance, and this is a guy who needed a second chance.
It may be calculated if you choose to believe that the only reason he ever read the Bible was to get elected. And I don't quite believe that. I mean, I'm as skeptical as the next reporter. But I believe there was a kind of fusion of faith and ambition. And I'm maybe generous or naive enough to believe that the faith may have come at the same time as his understanding that it would be useful politically to have that faith.
Such an honor for Laura and me to be with Dr. Billy Graham and Franklin Graham. Billy has been a longtime friend of my family's and me. He's had a major influence on my life. Years ago, I guess it wasn't all that long ago, that we had a long talk in Maine and began a faith journey for me that reconfirmed my faith.
I don't endorse candidates, but I've come as close to it, I guess now, as any time in my life, because I think it's extremely important. We have in our state absentee ballots. I've already voted. I'll just let you guess who I voted for.
It is a great mistake to think that a politician whose faith is real cannot be calculated, or to think that a politician who's calculated cannot also at times be real. And maybe the candidate or the person themselves doesn't know at times. There's gray areas.
It's comforting to be with a close friend and to have coffee and prayer as we begin the final stretch of the campaign to be the president. And I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir.
Gandhi once said, "He who says that politics and religion don't mix understands neither one." And George W. Bush understands.
The certified result in the presidential race in Florida is as follows.
The 2000 election's historically close vote revealed deep divisions in America. The stakes and the results seemed fateful to Bush's opponents and to his evangelical supporters.
I really let my emotions get really strung out on that. I know there's some people that made a statement that if our president got elected that they were going to move to Australia. That didn't happen. But I know that I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, if George Bush doesn't get elected, you know, what is going to happen to this nation?
Both sides have enough legal talent to keep this tied up
through Christmas. But the one thing the lawyers can't do for us, and the one thing the courts can't do for us, they can't bring this country together again.
The two things that best predict how you are going to vote are, one, do you go to church and how often? And two, are you married and do you have children? And if you are married and have children and go to church a lot, you're probably a Republican. And if you don't, you're probably not.
I hereby declare Governor George W. Bush the winner of Florida's 25 electoral votes for the President of the United States.
I think the prayers of a lot of people tipped that election. I really believe that with all my heart. And I believe that 5-4 vote in the Supreme Court, which could have gone the other way, I give God the credit that he wasn't finished with us yet.
I think God gave us the man we needed right now.
And I think that's how both the evangelicals would see it, how he would see it, but he's smart enough not to say he would see it that way, and no one worth his salt would advise him to say that he sees it that way, but I'm sure that that's how he would see it, that this is an opportunity to do what he thinks is right.
Congratulations.
Mr. Bush was deemed to be the first evangelical, if you will. He's created an open atmosphere that says, we want to hear from you. You're not going to be anathema to this administration, and we want you to be a full-fledged participant. That's very encouraging.
The first week he was in office, I went over and met with Karl Rove on the question of Sudanese slavery. Bill Bennett and I went in and sat down with Karl Rove and said, this is priority number one. People are being sold into slavery. We got to do something about it. And they rolled up their sleeves and did it. They delivered. You'll see a whole string of these things.
For the religious right, Bush's presidency propelled long-standing concerns about abortion and family values into the international arena.
He's cut off all the money for funding abortion and abortion providers and referrers worldwide from taxpayers' money in this country.
This president has really taken a tremendous lead on AIDS in Africa with his $15 billion program, and was receptive to all of our arguments about the faith-based elements here. Abstinence first, be faithful, be monogamous, ABCs, C, condoms if necessary.
In the House and the Senate today, and I've had a 50-year perspective, there are more outspoken, committed Christians than I've ever known up there. The Speaker of the House, Denny Hastert, is a great Christian man, a graduate of one of our evangelical schools, Wheaton College. Dr. Frist, in the Senate, the majority leader, is a great Christian man. Condoleezza Rice, a committed Christian. She's a Bible teacher. People don't know that.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Don Evans was one of George Bush's closest friends, and the story has been told that Don is actually who brought George to community Bible study, and I think has been a good Secretary of Commerce.
My dear friend and former law partner, Mel Martinez, very strong Catholic, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development.
John Ashcroft preached in that pulpit right here not long ago, sang and preached before he became Attorney General. He preaches all over America. He's a preacher of the gospel, dynamic Christian, and a most respected churchman.
The cabinet sessions began with prayer. There were regular Bible study sessions for those who wanted to attend. There was a White House Christian fellowship, as there has been under the past half dozen presidencies.
It's hard to know what the culture of the White House is because this is a very walled-off White House from most public scrutiny. The White House that they choose to present to the world is not quite an evangelical one, I wouldn't go that far, but it's one that is open about discussing matters of faith.